There you go.
Okay. You ready for me to start?
Are you?
I got to do the song.
Do it.
Oh.
Push the button. You always want to admit every time we have guests.
All right, that's enough lip from you, I think.
I don't think it is.
This is the Long in the Boot podcast, the podcast coming to you from the heel of the boot of Southwest Louisiana. I am your host, G Long, and across the way is, as always, Deb.
Hi, y'all.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Hadn't seen you in minutes.
Oh, hold seconds. I know. Actually, we haven't seen our listeners, though.
That's true. Well, we never see our listeners, Deb.
I was being metaphoric.
Okay, well, metaphorically speaking, we took a
hiatus for
because
evacuation.
Of flames, and we're now back. And of course, this is Sunday. We're recording. It'll go out Wednesday morning, bright and early,
right after 9/11. Speaking of flames,
let's not.
Oh, you wanted ashes and flames?
Too soon.
I don't think that's
too soon.
No.
And so anyway, if you want to get a hold of the Long in the Boot podcast, you know what to do. It's longintheboot@gmail.com. You can also leave a message at 337-502-9011 and leave any thoughts or anything like that if you'd like. And why are you making that face?
I was looking at an article about trust in government based by race and ethnicity.
Trust in government.
I know. That's why I made that face. Okay.
It's an oxymoron.
I know.
Hey, you know what?
What?
We have a guest.
We have a guest?
We do.
People came to our house?
That's right. Doesn't happen very often.
No. The heel of the boot is a wide and vast space.
The guest today, an old friend from education years and stuff, Mr. James Boswell. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine.
And
happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad you came over. And we're going to talk to James about just general stuff.
He's also general life stuff.
Yeah, general life stuff.
This is our life after high school edition, teacher edition, actually.
We've done several.
Yes, we've done several life after high schools.
With students. And now we're doing one, I guess, with teachers.
With former teachers. Yeah.
And James is also a candidate for the Beauregard Parish Police Jury District 3C. And we'll throw some mentions about that in.
I don't even know what district that is. I am not 3C.
No.
Okay.
We are Ronnie Jackson's district, and it's 4B.
Oh, okay.
I think. Yep.
See how much I know about our area.
And
as long as my roads work and I got water.
We do have one spot on a Memorial Church that we might ought to be concerned about.
Well, I have taken pictures and documented that. That one scares me. You probably drove over it, James, when you came in. Yeah, you noticed how bumpy that was, and underneath it's rotten.
And with all the vehicles that had to go over the past week,
with the firefighting,
bulldozers as wide as the road. I had to back up actually and get out of the way because the bulldozers they were bringing in for the fires down Regal Road, which is right back behind us, massive.
Yes.
And that fire wouldn't stop. It just kept flaring up.
Scary thought being that close.
They said
to
it
fire.
was 19,000 acres back there.
Yeah.
And I know Tiger Island's bigger than that, but for our little space, that's a lot of land.
Tiger Island's, that fire is another one that just...
To me, one of the amazing things about this is that when we're talking about all the people in the subdivisions and everything that's going in, to hear about a fire that's 20,000 acres or 31,000 acres, you think, man, I didn't know it was that much wild
that there was that much out
around,
there.
You know, you think
agree.
There's got to be somebody in there somewhere, but there were huge tracts of land burnt that
when you look at
didn't realize existed.
Yeah, when you look at it from the
aerial,
like the aerial overview, it's stunning how much forest is still here.
It's impressive.
Shh, don't tell people.
Yeah. We're telling them we're full. Don't tell them we're got more room.
They will populate.
Go to Texas. Go to Texas. They love, especially if you're from California. They love their Californians.
I don't think that's true anymore. No. So we got James in just because we taught together for probably, we were in the same school.
At least
16,
17.
Yeah.
Well, when we left, you were still there, right?
Yeah.
So it would have been 18 years.
He had a little more time to serve.
Yeah, I had to do a little more time. Altogether, it was 33 years.
How's retirement treating you?
Well, the 2 or 3 times I've thought about, I need to go back to work because this is killing me. I got too much to do here. And
too much maintenance.
grandchildren. I mean, like sometimes I feel like I'm still in school. They all come over the house. That's 15 people, we're talking.
Keeps you hopping, though.
Woo, yes, it does.
Nice.
It changes your perspective on life, too. It gives you a little different window to look out.
Slows you down a little bit, yeah. Are you you think you're going to go out back into the workforce?
No, I had considered subbing some,
Yeah, but you got you do have a lot to do. You have a lot of land to care for.
I do, and I still have storm damage I'm clearing out.
From Laura, Delta, Rita, what are we talking?
Take your storm,
the
take
freeze,
your pig.
the flood.
The freeze, the flood. I'm just waiting for the earthquake next.
Scarlett says she's leaving the state if we get an earthquake.
It's such a biblical year. I'm maybe putting up some locust nets or something. I'm putting something up to catch some locusts. They ought to be coming next.
We were noticing though, maybe the heat may have won.
Oh, love bugs.
We're not getting love bugs right.
Maybe we shouldn't talk.
Love bugs and mosquitoes.
Yeah, mosquitoes have been way down.
That's been impressive.
Yes, I just saw my 1 year picture, and it was him out at the Jeep cleaning the glass because the love bugs were so damn bad last year.
I will say, my wife showed me yesterday. She says, "Hey, I don't want to say this too loud, but look."
She saw one?
On our back door, there were 2 love bugs. They were connected on our glass.
Well, sure.
But if that's the only ones I see, it's worth the look.
But where there are 2, James.
2 million somewhere hiding.
Well, you know what it is.
It's
people haven't been cutting grass.
Well,
you haven't needed to.
My grass is
so there's
dead.
no clippings for them to breed in.
Yeah, the only grass I have to cut is where I'm watering. Like if I'm watering, then I've got some grass.
And it may be that the drought could have taken care of.
Put a big dent in them at least
for a
year.
It rearranged the ants. I know I got ants in places I've never had them before.
We do too.
Yeah, they went deep. Yeah. At the beginning, I saw them at the top of the ground, but then they went deep. So
Yep.
That's fine with me. Fine with me, Kitty. Stay down there.
So we were talking. Just real quick, we'll touch on it. You were a police jury member before, right?
20 years ago.
Oh, I thought you were.
It's like a Beatles song. 20 years ago today, pretty much, I was on the jury. Yes, I was running for the jury, but I went in 2004, and I served on the jury during Hurricane Rita.
Oh, through that ordeal.
So I was baptized with fire.
Oh, man. What a great time to join up.
Yeah, what a wonderful time to learn something on their feet.
Well.
But it was a learning experience, and I've learned, as a teacher, and especially for as long now as I've taught, but even then, as a teacher, you have to be a people person.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to learn to take care of problems.
Well, except for kids. I hate kids.
The only thing about school is kind of irritating,
Those darn students.
But, you have to, as a teacher, you don't understand how many different hats you got to wear.
Until after you leave.
Then you realize.
Then you start getting those.
I was a nurse. I was all these things.
Yeah, and they come back and they tell you the influence you had.
They do.
Don't they?
And I'm glad that I was a part of that.
I am too.
It's a profession that pays you in other ways than cash.
Yeah, and you don't even know that it's going to happen, but yeah.
It does. And
we appreciate y'all out there.
Yeah, they do.
But you had to learn a lot though in a hurry because you had to start because you guys had to liaise with state and federal people.
So how did that go?
Ruling the clearance of creek. We still have an issue with creek drainage. We still so plugged up, and we'll never get a handle on that because it takes too many resources.
Well, it's just too much.
It's just too much.
You know what we need? We need a good fire to take all that.
Well, a fire is doing a lot of good in some cases.
It's doing what man has not been able to do.
If we could just
was my thought.
Control it and send it where we want it. That might not be a bad plan.
I feel like, and this is just from observation, though, I feel like there's some land management companies that could have been a little bit more proactive in some control burns.
Well, what I've spoken
since Laura.
People in the state, actually, some legislators, and one of the things I discussed with them was about that, and they relayed to me, and I never thought of it this way, but what we have experience with is dealing with tropical systems, hurricanes.
Yeah. Right.
So, we're some of the best people in the world. If you want to throw a
water
Cat 5 hurricane at us, we know how to respond. We know when to respond. We know everything about it. But what the state experienced this summer has never been experienced before.
Not at this level.
So we have a level of fires that we've never dealt with, and it caught everybody by surprise.
It certainly did.
So God bless them, our local responders. They've tried to, it's like Goliath and David. We're talking about massive issues that they weren't prepared for, nor do they have a plan for, because they never had to have one before.
It was pretty amazing. I actually thought I thought the response was phenomenal.
Absolutely. For what they had to deal with, that's unbelievable what they did. And the temperature they had to deal with. I don't see how human bodies can work
I don't
in the
either.
conditions
It was
they
100
worked in.
degrees anyway.
I made hands off, just applaud them all the
I know
time.
there were some mistakes made, but you can't expect perfection
Well, the
when you're
state
dealing with
owned
that.
up to it. These legislators were telling me, they said, look, we didn't know how to respond, and we didn't know what time, and our local officials are being chewed at lots of times, and people are going to be on Facebook and different places. They sit out there, these keyboard cowards, I call them, and they want to go attack people, but you got to understand, we had never experienced something like this. So we were learning as time went on. So the state said, we know now that this can happen, and we're going to do a different setup. We're going to have different
we've learned things.
Something good will come
just
from
like
this.
And we
Charles
also,
after
of course,
Rita.
can't really the state. I mean, most of these fires were caused by people being stupid and
intentionally malicious.
starting fires, and that you can't be if you're dealing with a fire that's already happening and somebody starts one somewhere else. My goodness, you just have
your resources are stretched. So, James, you have lived in this area your whole life, or you moved here?
I'll give you a quick roundabout way of saying this. My father was a World War II Marine, and when he got out of the service, he was in the Corps of Engineers.
Oh, okay.
And he worked in Galveston to work on the seawall and the drainage areas around.
On the new one that,
after they built after the storm and all. So he was over there living in Texas City and Galveston. I was born in Texas City.
Oh.
And for 3 years, I lived in Galveston Island right there on the beach, when I was too young to enjoy it.
Yeah, you didn't know. I would go so quickly.
So at 4, we moved back to Louisiana. We moved back into Lake Charles. And then my family was from this area, Longville, Ragley area. My mother, 6 generations. And my father was from the Kisatchie area up in that area.
Oh, okay.
So we moved back to Longville when I was 5 years old.
Oh, okay. And what your mama's people, they were, what was her name?
She was a Walker, but Walkner, we come to find out, probably was the actual family name.
Yeah, there were a lot. There was a lot of that stuff going on in this area.
There was
E's added to names, and
there was Civil War issues.
Yeah.
That some people didn't put down the guns when they supposed to, and it had to be changed to some names. So we've been told that it was Walker, but we changed it to they changed it to Walkner.
Oh, okay.
So,
then she met
she
your
was
dad.
here, and it was on Hickory Creek right over here. They homesteaded. We've been around. I counted back. It's 6 generations now.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, my daddy's people had been out here for quite a while too. The Gidtrees.
Yeah. So and that kind of led to our story a while ago.
Yeah, we were talking about our DNA.
DNA, because
fancy that.
I'd heard these stories about our ancestors and stuff. And
well, you should be Scottish, shouldn't you?
We're getting there.
Okay.
So we're getting all this stuff. So and the names, we're digging through names and and trying to figure these things out. And after a while, finally the Ancestry.com come out with this, the deal. We'll send in, we'll tell your ancestry. I thought, well, man, that'd save me a lot of time.
Yeah, I didn't know mine.
So I sent it off, and I said, good. I'd already heard all these stories. When I got it back, I'm like, who's this guy?
What's your makeup?
It was a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And something else that's different about it is as time goes on and more of your relatives join up, I come to find out more blood that's sent in. These things change and your percentages change as time goes on.
Yeah, and they'll send you updates.
They did.
Yes.
Just recently they sent me one. So I'm becoming more and more and more something else. So what happened was I was a 3rd Irish, a 3rd Scot, and a 3rd Nordic.
Okay.
Okay.
I was Norse. I thought, well, where did this come from? Well, my skin cancer doctor would probably tell you, yep, I think you hit it right. I've been having plenty of skin cancers burned and taken out. And so the last update I just got was I was 44% Norse.
Oh, so it's moving up in majority.
30% Scot.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, I'm getting more and more.
Well, the Norse,
with the French connection you were talking about.
Yeah, with me 100%.
I went back and looked, and my son actually traced the lineage back all the way to 1066.
Wow.
And he said that he found the Boswell that came in from northern France.
Oh, into that
the
area.
actual Nordic.
When
actually
William the Conqueror came in.
It didn't go straight from the Nordic nations.
You think he was
Scotland.
fighting and he just was with
the general. One of the generals coming across came across and fought in Hastings.
What?
Oh, wow.
And went up from there into Scotland. So we're actually French.
Well, yeah, because all
Norman.
the winners got to displace all the losers.
So we were Normans from northern France, and then they went into Scotland, and then a couple of Irish got thrown in there and come over.
Pillaging.
So I kind of got, I was shocked to see how it come out. And my native so-called blood, that's in about a 1 or 2% in other.
Yeah.
Is where it's buried.
So that's where the one blonde grandchild, blue eye, comes in.
I got one blue-eyed blonde.
Yeah. There's that Nordic poking out there.
But all my children, when they were born, were just as cotton-top, white-headed as they could be, and they're both blue eyes.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, where's the Indian in this?
So stories that you tell your family, and that
I think someone got the wrong stuff here. So
interesting.
We went back and looked, and I understand now the genetics.
Yeah, now it makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
We just needed Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
We needed the Mormons.
Yeah, well, no, the Latter-day Saints.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They don't like to be called Mormons anymore.
They have a very in-depth genealogical.
Well, that was their.
record.
Well, there's a
They do.
purpose.
Originally, we
There's a purpose to
thought
it, of
there
course,
was
too.
one purpose.
Yeah.
They're converting everybody who's passed away.
That's right.
To their
But
their
ultimately, that wasn't the only purpose, right?
faith. No, that is the purpose.
Oh, that's it.
That's really the main thing that started it. Was they consider it to be a great service. They don't ask for a lot of money, really, when you consider
it's
what
not
they're
an
doing.
expensive test.
It's not an expensive thing, and for them, they feel like they are doing God's work, and
Now they have our DNA.
I think it's beneficial for people to see that.
Oh, I found it very interesting.
I didn't do mine. My sister said, "I'm going to do it." I said,
So
"Good." I
that
didn't want
should
to. I
take
didn't want to
care
spend
of
the
it,
money.
Save my nickel.
And but my Uncle Steve had always said,
Had already done
he
it.
goes, "Look, we're Swiss, we're German, we're English." He said, "That's it." And it turns out we're
Swiss.
dominantly Swiss.
Yeah.
With
5% German too.
and then German, and
That's what's
and
wrong
it makes
with
sense because the Imbodens from Switzerland, during the time they moved out of Switzerland and eventually ended up over here in which today is Pennsylvania Dutch country, but that's where they first settled.
Yeah.
And it was because over there they were having all their Lutheran Catholic problems. So I think people just kind of gradually moved
troubles.
until eventually they just came over in the 1700s. And as far as English goes, I mean, that's just bound to happen at some point.
Well, there's our history. We've done the history part. You want to move up to the nows? James, what's going on in the news that bugs the crap out of you?
We don't have that kind of time.
I know. We're trying to make it succinct here.
I hate to see the division in our country like that. That
was the word we had this morning. Division. They're causing divisiveness
It
constantly.
is. And I hate to see that divisiveness becomes a political tool.
Yes.
That your political party, that's one of their goals is to divide people,
Yes.
and that's terrible. So
And they've been
they should
working
be
at it for a while.
hard to unite people. And I hate to see that we're having such an issue with the age issue with our politicians. I don't.
Yeah,
That's a little strange.
Nancy
Why are we
Pelosi
fighting?
is going to run again.
And it used to be, just a little bit, but we're talking about cross the board.
Yeah.
Well, as a high school student in 1980, I can remember people saying, "Man, Ronald Reagan's in his late 60s."
Yeah.
I don't know.
Be in his 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look what we're looking at now.
And now we're covering it up. Mitch McConnell, there wasn't
No,
anything.
that's a brain
He's
issue.
cleared for service. Biden's had brain surgery
Twice.
Oh,
I would tell people that, and still to get people going, "What?" I said, "Top of his head has been off twice," and they're like, "No, look it up." And that's the other thing. Well, the problem is we see it, and now I think a lot of people are just frustrated.
Well, I think they're afraid to say it.
Well, no, but the government now acts as if we're all complete morons because something that we all witnessed very shortly ago now is not the case. We listened to a thing this morning, and it was all of the times that Fauci mentioned wearing a mask during COVID and how it started all the way to the end, where he said for the longest time, "You don't need it. It's stupid. Don't do it." Then it was, "Please do it. It's very important." And finally, 2 masks are better than 1.
Where to? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and now he's back. He's back because it's ramping up again.
And he's 80.
As a history teacher, you know how it went. Even back in the 1800s, when Lincoln said, what's taught in the classroom today will be the politics of tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
and boy, that is scary if you think about it.
And we've been griping about colleges because we're getting those college students from 20 years ago.
That is exactly right. And what they've been indoctrinated with is what we're learning, what's happening to us today. And
sure. And general breakdown.
Be the political ideas of tomorrow. And if you say a lie long enough, it becomes
the truth.
Yeah.
And it's too cold hard facts.
And some of the cultural, social, we talked on one episode about, it's a term, but it's more prevalent now. It's trans-Maoism. And it's the push by people in high-tech industry to basically meld us into, for want of a better word, into a digital world. Mm-hmm. And how hard, and some of these people are really pushing that are at the forefront of this, but they're following a pattern of breakdown in society that the Chinese used because you get the youth agitated at the old, and then you start breaking down that segment of the population, which is happening even now.
Maybe that's why they're working so hard to not talk about the ageism within politics. If they don't talk about it, it's not an actual thing.
Well, it was AI is being pushed so heavily.
Yeah.
Yes.
AI is the big push. And there's an argument out there that if we could just maintain control of it, AI might be the better way to go because the humans are just too stupid.
We add too much emotion into everything. We can't find the balance.
AI could just say, you know what, back off. We got
Well,
this.
but then AI might say, you know what, COVID's a good thing. We're going to take out all the old population.
Not, though. That's the thing. As again, it goes right back to right now. Mask mandates is starting to.
Well, it's
they're
political.
chirping.
It's a political.
Yeah.
But that's what you were saying about divisiveness a minute ago. It's another method to keep people, because it becomes a badge of honor. Mm-hmm. Whether or not
I
to
care,
wear.
so I wear a mask.
Or I don't believe the science, so I don't wear. But it's anything to chip away connections between people at a time when we have more ability to connect than ever before. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see the problems inherent in having too many people
we connect
in a group
too much
at the same time.
You're not on social media. You have stopped.
So what I would like to see maybe is these masks say, because I love you, I have this for you. I'm not wearing one, so if I want to protect you and you think it works, here's your mask.
Yeah.
You can wear this one while you're around me.
I have students who wear masks. I still have kids.
You can wear this mask while you're around me because I'm not going to wear it.
So you need to protect yourself from my germs.
That's right.
And
I saw a man in his car yesterday wearing a mask, all alone.
I know.
Yeah.
In a car by yourself, that one's the
well.
But then again, that may be because the dust and all the stuff lately that's been in the air. He might.
Well, yeah. Back
so
when
I'm not going to judge.
I told
you want to wear that mask in your car.
The Asians always do it.
I think it's time to come out with our own car seatbelt jackets that we can sell to people, and they can walk around with a seatbelt across.
I saw that meme.
Around. Wouldn't that be fun?
You're not on social media, but I saw that meme.
That'd be an
absolutely
an excellent jacket design.
I'm always safe. Well, what are you hooked to?
That's right.
Myself.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, for that, we just need straight jackets, then. If we all just walk around in straight jackets, we'll feel good. Hug ourselves.
It was, I think it's kind of funny, too, that at least the area we're in, and two events that had nothing to do with each other, yet amplified and showed us some things, was after Laura, and everything is devastated. That was in the heart of the COVID epidemic.
Yes.
And it was also hot, and there was no power.
And there were love bugs and
there were love bugs. And you just couldn't wear a mask in that heat. Mm-hmm. And
people were living in their cars.
And people had to work with each other. Food had to be handed out, and water, and all this stuff, and all this contact.
And our COVID did not go up.
Our COVID was about average for the country. It was a little higher, but not. We also have a much older population, so the rates of death would have been higher simply because of the age of the population and health conditions.
We begin to build up a huge mass resistance to it.
Yes.
We begin to build up a whole mass resistance.
Because you're being exposed all the time.
Everybody's being exposed all the time. So
yeah, and so
a natural immunity that's the word I was looking for.
Well, and it's happened every other time in history. Yeah. And so
But science tried to tell us at one point that wasn't happening. Well, that didn't happen.
The problem is you have an unproven
Mixed messages.
therapy.
Mixed, yes.
You also have, as we now know, doctors being punished because they were prescribing like antifungals that people had been taking for 30, 40 years.
Yes.
But the other side then uses that politically and says, well, that's horse medicine. Well,
So-
it can be, but then again,
In this case,
most drugs are the same drugs for animals. We just change the dosage.
Sure.
And
so we're back to them creating divisiveness with their
Yep.
lies, and then they change their lie and they go to a different lie.
well, if you can keep people focused on each other, I think it just makes it impossible for a large group of people to affect change. It's harder to make that happen because people aren't coming together.
They're preoccupied with their differences.
Yeah.
But if you know the last time this country really came together as a country, 9/11.
9/11.
Yeah.
Then we had a common enemy. We need a common enemy.
Well,
COVID wasn't the common enemy. It didn't work the way they thought
For a
it
while.
would work. For a while. For a while.
Yeah. And rightfully so. And if something that big happened again, I think you'd see the same thing. People will say, hey, and it'll be kumbaya for a
yeah.
little while. And then immediately people will start blaming other people. I mean, it just takes time because social media makes everybody's voice come into the mix.
Get ready. We have a presidential election coming.
Oh, I know.
So we have monkeypox or something's
I'm
coming
already
down the
tired.
line.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Well,
We're
it'll
gonna
be
have
the new
something coming
COVID
out.
variant.
And this is the best
Variant.
time to not be on Facebook, James. The best time during this kind of thing.
I agree.
I had to stop a lot during that.
It's a matter of time, but it's coming. There's something's going to have to come down the line.
Yeah, I bailed on social media. That's why I started a podcast.
There you go.
This was our stimulus money. Everybody had a stimulus thing, and apparently half the country did.
Well, I was going to turn down that stimulus money, but everybody else took it, so I figured, I guess I'll take it. But I don't think it actually did anything, really. I mean,
Well, it was going to stimulate the economy.
I'm sure it helped people. The economy was.
Oh, game systems were being snapped up.
It helped get the inflation thing started. It
did.
helped
Oh, yeah.
push that down the line, and
We out of COVID, we got a higher hourly rate for many states. They actually raised their minimum wage and then raised the prices on everything else.
Well, that's natural.
Well, no, that happens every time we get a teacher raise. They raise our rates on our medical insurance. Oh, we got a $38 raise.
James, you taught
Economics
social
101,
studies.
that's how it
You
goes.
taught social studies forever.
yeah.
And why do you think so many people who should know better don't understand that when you flood the economy with dollars, it makes each of them worth less than before? Therefore, prices appear to rise, but in fact, what's happening is the money is becoming worthless.
It's not taught. And I actually taught that through my Boz Bucks. We had
Yeah,
that
I
for
remember
years.
that.
And I would do that. We'd go in there and say, okay, if I raise your pay, I'm paying you. I just flood the class all this money. Going out the door or leaving will cost you 3, 4, 5, 6 times what you're paying now.
Yeah.
So would you want more money, or would you like to just keep the price as it is? And they were like,
Keep the price where it is.
Yeah.
So I said, well, you see, it just works the same way as you keep going up. I said, more
That's a
money,
valuable lesson.
More money
And they're
brings higher prices.
Yeah, and they're economic laws. They're not. You got people who
Yeah, it's
base
not
their
a
life
theory.
on theories, but nobody seems to be willing to go, oh, that's just a law. And
That's a scary thought, too, when you think about it, because since the 1930s, people started paying a little bit more attention to the economy and how money works, because it woke them up. But then somehow we're going right back to sleep, because the same principles that took place then, post-depression and everything else, all is the same. And it's all happening in cycles.
Yep.
Every time a politician comes in and floods the economy with money, the same things happen. Every time you do this, the same thing happens, and we just keep doing this or that, and we don't ever learn from it.
it's bizarre, isn't
I'm
it?
telling you,
Yes.
100 years from now, we can be sitting in this room. We're going
Doing
to
the
be
same.
griping about how inflation is eating our pocketbooks up because some idiot president flooded the market with too much cash.
And you got to dry it up.
No.
Yes.
Well, we're
Here
just going to
comes
keep
the
raising
So here
interest
comes
rates.
the interest rates to dry up the too much money, which
Yeah.
means no one can buy anything.
That's it.
So it's
We don't want you
More
people
exp-
buying anything.
And then it makes it more expensive to start businesses, buy a house, everything.
given enough time, you could sit in this room with a third grader and show them how this works, and they'll walk out of here knowing why the economy is the way it is. If you just took the time to teach.
So James, you're saying history, we can see
learn from history.
The
say
patterns?
what?
I thought that was the whole purpose of teaching it, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know. They don't seem
I thought
to.
that was the purpose of it.
They don't seem to see a reason. No.
Currently, I'm hoping that I'll be able to get in it. I've been doing special education for 6 years. This is my
since you
year.
I know we've been at DQ.
And I've had like 2 classes every year of world history, which is, it's a meaningless class as far as do you have to have, but there's so much you can teach kids from world history. But even to give you an idea though, how silly it is, they want me to start world history at the Renaissance. Now, how are you going to do the Renaissance if you don't talk about the Greeks and the Romans? You know, and somebody came up with that curriculum, James, and I bet you they even have a master's degree or a doctorate.
in electrical engineering, maybe. You know, some of these people that make these decisions, I don't think they're even in education very much.
Well, you know, they're moving
they're more
the test.
in business. This is more of a business thing.
Yes, it
Testing is a business.
It's
parents are stakeholders.
It's a lucrative business.
It's all business.
When we dug into it, the amount of money those testing companies pull in is staggering.
It is.
We're not life after high school, though. We're not allowed to talk about it.
We can talk about that. I don't have a problem. Okay. And you know, civics is going to. They've now decided that civics is the class that they want students to be tested on versus U.S. history.
So it's more important to know how the country.
They're piloting that this year, and then next year it will be the end of course test will be civics as opposed to U.S. history, which for me personally, I think that's probably a more valuable use of the time.
I think so too.
Because kids may not know much U.S. history, but you know what they really don't know? How the government works.
Or how it should work.
Well,
and that's the worry with, I've gone through the curriculum. And
I drove that home so much. I spent so much time because I was told I was supposed to start my curriculum at the Revolutionary War.
Right.
No reason for the war to happen.
How do you even know why there was a war until you go back before?
You got to know why they were mad.
I just said, okay, thank you. And they shut the door. I go back.
And you go back to teaching.
I need to do.
Yes.
So, but the the whole concept of founding fathers and that we're not a democracy.
Right.
We don't want a democracy. When I would say that, people would lose their mind. I'm like, well, you're a communist? I said, no, I'm a representative republic. We need to have a republic.
Yes.
Because everybody then's under the law.
Right.
The law is the supreme power of your land.
It should be.
And we got that taken away, and now it's free for all. The Constitution is just something that they talk about.
Yeah.
I know. We're about to do that in my 11th grade English class.
So it's very critical that they go back to, and it's all, to me as a teacher, and you feel the same way, it's the lack of teaching that is why we have the issue with it.
Right.
And I told my kids all the time, if you don't know what the Bill of Rights are, how do you know when you're losing one?
Yeah.
Sure.
How do you know when they're taking something away from you unless you know you had it to begin with and how you got it to start with?
Yeah.
So if you don't teach generations of kids those ideas, well, they'd have no clue. And you got the people you got today voting because
Well, that's why we're happy that they're going to bring civics back. And
I think it's a good thing. I've gone through the curriculum, and it looks like a pretty good curriculum. I still think that there could be a little more history that is in the civics curriculum because you're losing. Because I know what they're doing. They're going to make U.S. history smaller because it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, where do you?
And it's far too much to cover, and they're still trying to teach kids things that I personally think as a teacher is not really worth spending much time or, you can talk about what's the one that Habit still complains about, and I did too, was back during the William Jennings Bryan period with the Cross of Gold speech and the gold bugs and the silver. Kids don't need to know that. That's it. Talk about the labor issue for a minute for farmers and move on.
And then go past.
Because the big events, you never get to the stuff that's happened recently, which might be the thing that needs to be talked about.
Yeah, because they don't see that there's any connection. I said something about a child. I said, a young lady, that she'd be voting very soon, and she said, well, none of that stuff has any effect on me. I don't even know who the people are.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. When they have no background in it, they don't know the importance.
And don't think that it has any effect on them.
Nothing to do with them. I'll tell you, I'll give you if you want me to give you a little story.
Sure.
I taught one of the years I actually got out of junior high for a little while, and I taught a high school class, and I had it was a civics class, And I did a little thing. It was at that time, it was gun control and abortion, and I think it was even gay rights or something like that. It was the hot issues of the day.
Yeah, because we haven't solved anything.
And I said, and that's ironic how long ago this was. Sounds like it's yesterday.
I told kids, I said the 70s they were dealing with abortion.
So I said, you want a litmus test to your politicians, and you want to see what you can do. I said, ask them to respond to those 3 questions. Ask them what their stance is on those three
topics.
And I said, if a politician, if a candidate will tell you their answer, irregardless of the effects, it's what they actually feel. I said, you need to respect that person. Even if it's against your beliefs, you should respect them because they answered you correctly.
Instead of riding the fence.
Honestly.
Most politicians won't do that.
We did that. And we sent them to the president. We sent them to our congressional delegation, and we sent them to our Louisiana officials, everybody. We got the stamps. We wrote the letters. We mailed them out.
Yep.
And they started getting these letters back. Well, the ones that didn't get back at all, I said, well, there you go. It's generic.
They told you no answer is
no answer is what you get.
Yeah.
And then they started trickling. As you got lower down the scale, they got more and more responses.
Oh, from the local. Yeah.
So, and I won't mention the politician's name, but there was a guy that sent one back, and he was very vague and and very roundabout.
Riding the fence. Didn't want to commit to either side.
The little girl that wrote this, she goes, what's he telling me? What's he saying? I don't understand it. I said, well, that's the object of the letter. He didn't want you to understand what his position was. So I said, that's a slick politician.
That's a politician.
Answer. And I said, that's not a man telling you what you ask, is it? And she said, no. I said, well, why don't you write him back and tell him that that's what you feel about him? He's being a slick politician. And he's not standing up for what he believes in. I got a phone call.
Uh-oh.
She sent the letter off.
Good for her.
She mentioned you?
And she, she didn't even mention me.
Yeah, but they probably realized it was.
Politician dude from South Florida goes, I knew, James, it was you. I'm like, well, you know what? You had every opportunity to do
These are your future voters.
That's exactly what I told him, and he knew that.
Yeah.
And I said, you had every opportunity to do the right thing, and you chose to do something other. So he said, well, you tell that girl to write me back again with her questions. And she did. And he said, you tell her mom and dad and everybody down there that I'm gonna answer this, I said, well, good. And she mailed it back to him. I went to class. I said, you know what? I just got a phone call from the guy you sent your letter to, and he's scared to death of you and what you said.
Excellent.
And she looked at me like, me? I said, yes, ma'am, because he works for you and your parents. I said, you control his position where he's at.
And they need to be reminded of that.
It's not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you're not working for him.
Ain't that something people have forgotten?
It's not the other way around. He doesn't, you don't work for him. So she sent that letter off, and he sent back, he put down verbatim what she asked. And probably did him more political good than he ever realized.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Because that young lady today is a voter.
I can almost bet the house on it. That girl today is a woman that votes.
And she's savvy about what she's
doing. Very much so understanding the system.
So
that idea of being a servant of the people, especially for the high-level politicians, that is gone.
Well, nothing angers me more than the fact that congressmen and senators and people in those levels have health care for life. They never think about a medical bill, and I paid their medical, and I worry about going to the doctor. I have people who don't have health insurance. Meanwhile, we're paying for them.
Oh, of course.
For life.
For life.
That's just bullshit.
It's a cushion.
That's what that is.
Congress should live under the same rules that they force on us.
They need co-pays.
Whatever we're required to do and whatever we have options for, that should be their options. Period.
They should not be above
the
average citizen.
I'm for term limits too.
Yeah,
and I'm for age limitations.
I am as well.
For all of those things.
And
you wouldn't have these issues.
Especially term limits. Term limits are the biggest problem. And
nepotism.
Well, the problem is the courts are kind of on the side of the legislators, though, because they want it to be voted on, which makes sense. Mm-hmm. But you're never going to be able to get them. It's really hard to get someone who wants that power. And that's the key, too. All of the people there, I say there's going to be some good people in the House and the Senate. Mm-hmm. But a huge chunk of those people are in it for the power.
Or they start off like Mr. Smith and and then reality,
and they get bought out,
and then reality hits them about their position.
And the money makes things comfortable.
Yes.
And once somebody gets really comfortable,
it's hard to get them
to vote against their own interests, and that's one of the
lobbyists. So we have that issue.
Well, that's money. It's all money. It's marketing, and once they get co-opted at the federal level, it's almost impossible to get rid of them. And in the executive branch, it's worse because those people are just there for life.
I don't understand the whole thing with our political parties. Some of the candidates being run, as a political party, you should want the most viable, the most electable, the most trustworthy guy you can get or woman to be your candidate. Why are they picking some losers
to be educated?
Because
some of these people seem to be morons.
Well, that makes you have to think that it's a malicious intent, that they want a puppet that is just a figurehead.
Yes. I can name a few that I believe that's exactly why.
And they're the ones that
districts were created to elect people like that.
And that's why they're co-opted, is because that's what they went into it for. They wouldn't have had the capacity to win without the people who wanted a puppet to win.
They were
you know what I mean?
There.
That's true.
And I think that's a big part
America's never done that in foreign countries.
Well, you heard there was a senator, Alabama senator, Tuberville, said.
Oh, yes. Actually, I wrote this down as something we needed to talk about.
So he said the other day that the problem in the Navy now, he's discovered that the Navy is too woke. And he goes, and here's why. I found out they were having sailors on an aircraft carrier write poetry. Warriors writing poetry.
How dare
proves
soldiers.
The Navy's too woke. And right there, anybody who knows anything goes, warriors have written poetry since poetry.
Yeah.
And
of all the other junk that's out there, poetry is going to be your enemy.
He said that's what proves the Navy is too woke. And so if you, just a cursory search on Google, you find out that the Navy has had poetry contests for a long time. It goes way back. And then you go deeper, and it's the samurai and the Spartans, and it goes in the Asian.
As long as we've had
Asian warriors were poets.
Oh, yes.
And it goes so far back. And here's this guy speaking, a man who's never been in the service.
Criticizing them.
I thought he was going to say something like they ought in the water too much or something.
Yes. They all went to watch Barbie together.
I don't know what those people
Did you go see Barbie?
I missed that one.
Oh, James. Sorry. Did Robin go?
No.
None of the family went?
Deb says you will laugh like never. I haven't seen it yet. I didn't go because it's too pink. It's just too much pink.
It's hysterical.
I don't want to come home confused.
It was such a critique. There are very clear gender lines. Very clear. And the one trans, you don't even
Did you go see
attention.
Oppenheimer? Did you go?
I did
yeah,
go see
that was
Oppenheimer.
amazing.
That I did go see.
That's a whole different level.
That was a heck of a piece of filmmaking.
It was really good. I was disappointed at the end that they didn't show a little bit more of the actual bomb footage.
Right.
I wish they'd have shown a little more live footage of the test and the delivery that they had.
It was powerful.
Yeah, I think it'd have brought it even closer to home.
It kind of needs to right now. People are. Have you noticed that lately the world leaders seem to be tickling the nuclear option again all of a sudden?
Like it's no big deal.
Because we all grew up with it hanging over our heads, thinking at any moment we're going to get cinderized, and then it kind of went away.
Well, we had those miracle desks, remember?
Yes.
You could climb under. You could survive a nuclear blast.
That's right.
We do still have one drill where we do climb under our desks. There is one.
I have a video that actually makes fun of that whole era called Atomic Cafe, and in one of those commercials, there's a family picnicking, and it goes. You see the flash, and they all jump under the picnic
blanket.
Yeah.
That'll save you.
It's a cloak of invisibility.
I did see something though the other day that I didn't know it had happened. I'm trying to think of the show it was on. But anyway, I think it might have been Shatner's thing, The Unexplained or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah, I remember that show.
But he was talking about survival, how human body can survive certain things.
Yeah.
Do there was a man working in his office in Hiroshima. The bomb was dropped, and he was downtown. The building survived. He survived. He said, "This is crazy," and he moved to Nagasaki.
Well, there you go.
And he was in his office under his desk
At the same.
when that one went off. And he lived to be 80-something, 88, 89.
Not even a
years old.
cancer from the.
That's almost an
Wow.
argument for fate right there.
So
No doubt.
maybe
I
fate
think
is real.
That guy's DNA and blood tissue and everything about that man should
Was
have been put
investigated,
somewhere into
yeah.
some labs
Right.
and studied.
Find out what's going on with
that
his.
cat had it going on. I don't know what was the deal with that.
Where was his DNA? Ancestry.com.
Alien.
Yeah.
Alien.
He must have been. He was alien, yeah.
Well, that's our future. All right, there's the connection to the future. James. Well, we've done the past.
That's a tenuous connection, I
We've
think.
done the current, and I don't want to talk about politicians anymore, but we gotta get to the future.
Well, that's true. That's true. What prompted you to run again? We'll start there.
Well, as a history teacher, and civics, my thing is if you can complain about the food, well, you need to cook your own then maybe.
Serve. There you go. I try to encourage my students. You need to run for office.
So if in a representative republic, and that's what I told kids constantly. I said, look, this isn't a spectator sport. You live in a country, in a political system that you have to participate in. This is a participating government. You participate by voting. You participate by studying your candidates. You participate by going to functions and asking them questions. You participate, and then you also participate by being one of those people and serving in those capacities. And I said, if you want to be a true free American, then you better get involved with the participating part.
With the
and
system.
I've said that many times. And I had people that came to me and said, look, you have experience. You've served before in a horrible time. You served, during the hurricanes. They said that we just would like to have another option out there that has the experience. And they wanted me specifically. And I said, well, okay, I'll do that.
Life after high school. Now, there's your service. Exactly.
I have retired, so I said I can devote even more. I did it when I was a full-time teacher.
Yeah,
you were busy,
had
busy, busy.
That was a busy time with two small children. And I said, man, that was crunch time. That kind of stuff's for the ignorant and young.
Yeah, you didn't know no better.
But now I'm retired. I have a whole lot more time to devote to it. And I can do it.
Yeah.
I did my job, but I can do
Well, you effectively,
very
before,
effective job, yes.
you were effectively losing 10 hours a day, 5 days a week because of teaching. And not to say that it was taking it away, but now you have, you certainly have a lot more.
And the problems now are tenfold. Even without a hurricane or a natural disaster.
Like I said, having 9
you never
grandchildren,
know.
it changes your perspective on what you think's important.
Absolutely.
And there's things about and you can start where you can start. I always say, start wherever you can.
Yeah.
And at police juror or whatever like that, that's where
Local
I can be
level is
effective.
where you can make
that's
a
where I
difference.
can actually do something. That's where I'm going to start. That's what I want to do.
Well, that's constant that we talk about that maintenance. If you're not taking care of everything and putting back into your system, it doesn't work.
Yes, and you have plenty of boards, and you have issues that are out there. And you have, administration of the parish as a whole, and ordinances and things that need to be looked at, and subdivision rules, and all those kind of things
Need to be updated.
that affect everybody's life all the time. It's not just roads and bridges.
And
Right.
once in place, you still have to update. You have this. Everything changes.
I'm consistently amazed about how fast the area has actually grown. The first 10 years I was here, I didn't see a lot of changes. And then all of a sudden, it just started happening.
And I think we have the same issue with that as we had with the fire issue. I think we're catching up. The expansion was beyond our regulatory structure.
Right.
And our expansion was beyond, I'm trying to say it the nicest way.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Our expansion was faster than
Just
we
not
were
prepared,
ready to receive it. And I think there's still some tweaks we can do to that.
yeah.
There's things like that I was saying, you go to other towns where there's more regulatory oversight of actual subdivisions and things. And one of the problems here, because the land, some of these places they're building, we all know it's going to flood because they're building it on basically what used to be just a floodplain or a rice paddy.
I was just saying, in some cases, it's rice fields.
Yes.
Really. It wasn't
They're meant
rice
to
fields.
They're going to fill up with water.
Yeah.
And it may not happen today. It may not happen next year, but it will happen eventually.
Yeah.
And we've been lucky with our hurricanes. Strangely enough, Rita and Laura and Delta, the rain could have been so much worse.
We personally have been lucky. I know dozens
We
of
watched
people who
Harvey.
lost homes.
Harvey destroy the entire coastline of Texas with water.
Yeah.
And because it just didn't move.
And didn't stop.
And ours at least kept going.
I'm kind of looking for a tropical depression to do the same thing here for a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Well, we have a lot of loose trees.
I think our fire issue would really benefit from a tropical depression.
Just nice, a small one, James.
No lightning.
A small little tropical depression.
No lightning, please.
Well, we're definitely going through growing pains in this area. I mean, the region lost their mind over a vote on beer, and we won. Yay for the imbibers in all of our area.
We couldn't even vote on it. But
no, we couldn't vote on it.
No question it was going to pass.
I'm telling you, my future, I want a beer garden in Longville. I want a band
Deb
stage.
wants a permanent.
I want a beer garden.
Go. Permanent outdoor structure.
Have bands.
Built almost like
they used to do it at Longville Lake.
Almost like they do at the German Fest. Speaking of which, have you been to the German Fest up in
Roberts
Cove?
I've never been to that.
Oh, you would enjoy that.
The Renaissance in north of Baton Rouge.
At Hammond?
The Hammond one. Yeah.
That was so many years ago. I didn't
I don't.
I went to the Renaissance there and the one over in Texas.
Well, let me tell you about Roberts Cove.
It's a nice
first weekend in October. Mm-hmm. It is a German Fest, and they do all kinds of silly stuff that you think of with German Fest. They've got a old timey tractor. They have that old timey tractor thing. They've got oompa bands. I think they have it's all.
It's a big pavilion.
It's St. Theodore's Catholic. I think it's St. Theodore's. I think.
Oh, you didn't research.
No,
I didn't expect to talk about it.
It's a small German Catholic community.
It's the tiniest little church. They have this the church that's there.
Tiny.
That was incredibly small.
They do it every year, and they still, you eat brats and sauerkraut,
and you get your mug, and you just go around and get different beers.
Kids were always amazed when I talked about what our German ancestry is in this state. There's a lot of Germans here and a lot of Irish.
Well, it's really cool out there in the middle of just fields and fields. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And my favorite bakery, German.
There you go.
ZZ's.
Well, she's Germanic.
Yeah, go to Rosebud.
Remember, she's not German. Don't
go to ZZ's in Rosebud.
Don't make that mistake again.
Well, it says German, I think.
Some of those people in Central Europe get touchy. But anyway, first week in October, you might, if you have that weekend.
Yes, if the weather's decent, we're going.
Yeah, I don't go when it's really super hot because I don't want to sit outside.
Because you're Germanic.
It's really super hot.
You might want to wait till November and then go somewhere.
I know, right? But that would be cool, I think, is a permanent structure like that
in the area
that a community would have.
I think it would be nice.
And for people who don't want to, drink beer, then they can stay home and drink tea or whatever.
Civic Centre, huh?
You've talked about running a bar, the bartending.
A community bar. That's the one thing I loved in Kansas City is every.
Of course, we were younger then.
Yeah, but every town had their town bar. And there were pool tables.
Well, I think the community
and sand on the floor.
I think the community here was worried that things would be
things went
salacious if we had a bar. But that's why I said I'm thinking of it as a different way.
And there was a reason that a lot of these laws got passed. It was because of the military training that was going on close by. Those guys would get off and they'd go absolutely bonkers.
But we don't really have that now.
Well,
there's still a few
years ago
people.
Going to Quincy, there was my uncle told me, my family said that there was basically like a skid row going into Quincy. It was one bar right after the other.
Oh, like when you head to Leesville.
Like that. And they said like it was bring your own knife, don't come
it doesn't look like you want to stop on that road.
It's the same thing with gaming and everything else that took place in our state that was so corrupt and done so badly. And so there was a bitter taste in people's. Yeah.
If we could do it right, that's the point. If you could do it right.
Regulated and it was watched over. I can understand the concern about we don't want to go back to that.
No, we do not need that. That's why I think a nice outdoor area.
Well, I like how it was handled this time. It was straightforward. Mm-hmm. People in that district. Now, of course, the commentary was not people from that district, because there's not that many people in that district.
Yeah, there couldn't have been that many.
The commentary on the
gold.
Ragley Longville page, which is I just read it for the fun. I think it's I love it when they get on something like.
He doesn't do that though.
Well, I know,
he's free of that encumbrance.
But when you see comments like, if you can buy beer, what's next? Crack, and things like that, you're just like, okay. And it was hilarious.
Yes.
But I'll bet 99.9% of the comments that were made about buying beer in that district, the people in that district weren't involved. There's a couple.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But they're funny.
Oh, well.
Well, everybody loves to put their opinion out there.
Oh, sure.
That's the joy of social media.
Yeah.
That's why you should not get involved in that at all.
It's, there's people sitting there waiting to see what the latest turmoil they can stir up is.
Oh yeah.
It is a waste of time.
I prefer the other end, which is like looking at students that I've had that I
their
get to
children
see their families growing and everything.
Yes.
And I love that. I think it's wonderful.
Watching your sons and daughters' children, they're so cute, just so cute.
My mother said something to me.
Christmas is amazing at your house.
She was a retired teacher too, and she told me something when I first started teaching. I said, man, I said, won't be long. I'm going to be teaching some of the people I graduated with,
Yep.
their kids. And she says, she said, son, wait till you figure out that you're teaching the grandkids.
The grandchildren.
I said, that's when it's going to hit you. And man, was she right.
Yes, it's true. It's absolutely true.
I said something about grandpa, whatever. I said, who's your grandpa? And I said, I graduated with him. Her words came back to me. I thought,
my favorite is to look at a child's face and go, wait a minute, what's your last name? Oh my God, you look exactly like your mom. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that we taught that have little mini-me's.
Yeah,
it's
their
really
children
funny.
look so much like them. So cute, though. Just so cute.
But so many of them are doing so good, too. I think that's one of the pleasures for me of teaching.
Life after high school.
Life after high school is the pleasure seeing especially, and you remember, those kids that you worried about, and they've done it. They've succeeded. They figured it out. And I think
for a lot of them, they're doing way better than we are.
Well, I know.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely
but you see a lot of
good.
You see a lot of criticism of kids today.
No, I'm not doing that.
I think overall, we still have the same thing that's going to happen, which is a certain percentage of kids will get it. And they'll get out there and they'll work, because really work ethic is key. And also understand what you lose when you for those kids that come from a broken home. The trick is to learn from that so that you know what not to do. Yeah. And the kids that have done that, amazing. Oh,
kickoff.
Yeah, I know. We can.
My biggest thing that's breaking my heart for my own grandchildren is what, years ago we talked about, these kids have got to face broken homes. And they've got to face, they got to face the drugs. We've got so much, drugs that's messing with. Today, that's almost the point that's
just
minor.
That's regular stuff.
It's horrible what they have to deal with and what they're being exposed to and what they have to try to get their mind wrapped around. Your subject is the smallest thing on their plate.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know.
And their parents are struggling, too. They don't know either. The young adults trying to raise a family right now.
They are.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm grateful that my daughter has no children.
Struggle with the finances of just trying to have a
today.
Yes.
Today. It's such a crushing blow because of the amount of money it takes. And then all the social stigmas and weird things and stuff and the political stuff that's associated with it. It's unbelievable.
Well, and they mix it together. That's the key. The moment you start looking at politics today, the other junk gets sucked into the conversation. You can't.
And then somebody judges.
I was telling the kids at school, I said, look, they were like, what news do you watch? I said, I don't watch the news. I said, I actively seek out things that I know I can generally trust. Yeah. And I said, but the key is to learn that what you read or see, learn how to see through the veil of nonsense for the actual kernel of the story.
It's pretty ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. For years,
the news was objective.
Everybody went to sleep, and we weren't involved in our politics. We got the junk you got.
Yep.
And now, all of a sudden, everything is politics.
Everything is political.
Like we went from one extreme to the other. Well, you can't do anything about being political.
Try to teach pronouns right now. I just did that. It was just insane. I had to talk about that.
Well, language is changing, too. That's another fun thing. But no, it's a battle now, I think. As a teacher, it is harder. I will admit.
Oh, yeah.
It's harder vocabulary levels. But here you go. A bright thing, maybe a little pushback. Phonics is going to be the new focus in English now.
They've decided that
They decided that maybe that did work.
Letters matter.
Sounds matter.
Wow. That's deep, man.
Deep, man.
There's your snippet. There's your clip.
Real letters matter.
It's so true.
Yeah. What did we learn here in the heel of the boot today? Probably nothing, huh?
Well,
It was interesting.
It's not about what you learn; it's about what you take away.
That's it.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
There's lots of stuff to talk about.
There really is.
There really is. That's why I said I didn't prepare. I just knew it would be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I keep saying that. I said, when I retire, I'll finally be able to actually talk about things in education that really upset me. And most of the stuff actually upsets me at the upper end, at the state level,
absolutely.
decisions that are made there. But also the issues that we have now with where they ask teachers to do things with curriculum and with technology that simply isn't possible to meet. You cannot meet the demand. But everybody does that now. They'll say,
I was going to say, isn't that society now? Everything is a catch-22.
That breaks down the rules. When you issue a curriculum, for instance, that English teachers, this may sound familiar, when English teachers got this brand new curriculum that changed everything about how English was taught, and suddenly the kids weren't really learning anything.
And then it was our fault.
But then they kept piling more and more on the teachers. Well, use this source, use this website,
that
use
goes
this.
back to the business.
Yes.
You can't keep the same stuff because no one's making money off of it anymore.
They don't leave you enough time to get something.
But look what they've done.
Oh, I've taught
Remember,
reading,
we can't get new textbooks because they cost too much. But
they
will buy 7 or 8 different digital platforms that are tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars for the licensing because it's done by the number of computers that sign on to it. And that has got to be far in excess of what a textbook, which lasts you
a couple of years.
We can at least say, 5 to 7 years. Mm-hmm. Math textbooks shouldn't change at all. And
but they did.
Yeah,
they did.
Oh, yeah. Your wife stayed in after you got out. She taught another year.
But that's another example of them tweaking, always tweaking. We got to. It reminds me of people tinkering with a car. The car runs perfectly, but there were guys that they just couldn't stop messing with the car. They usually lived close and went rum rum a lot. And you're like, the car sounds perfect. What are they doing?
Well, it's the parts house next to you telling you what you got to have some new stuff on.
Yeah, it's the marketers.
It's the same thing.
It's the marketers.
Well, I can give you a takeaway with our educational segment here.
Yes. Good job, James.
My plea would be that what we've lost was parents not paying attention. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad to see that some of this ignorant stuff that's coming out has woke
they're coming back to it.
They're beginning to come back and realize, hey, I need to get involved in my kids' life here. And parents will get back involved when they're at their education of their student. I think some of this stuff can be put out at the ground level. I believe that absentee parenting has brought about a lot of our educational issues.
I agree.
And I think if parents would get back involved, and I don't mean attack your teacher.
No, there are, because that's why they got rid of PTA.
Don't attack your teacher.
There are no real PTAs anymore because there was too much.
Again.
But there was a problem with
ground rules.
Parents,
stay here.
Parents stopped showing up.
There you go.
Yeah.
You nailed
they're busy. Society is busy.
Because it was PTA until high school, and then it was PTSA, and students were supposed to be involved too.
But my word to them would be, if you love your children, they have to be the priority. You're busy, but make time for them.
Yes.
And make time for their education and make time to contribute in a positive way to their education. And attacking the system and the teachers and everybody involved is not the way to do it. Finding out what needs to be changed and
who the real enemy is.
Board meetings and discuss who you're electing to your school board and tell them what your concerns are and do it through the channels that you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Then our republic will work and get healthier.
So you're saying get involved again. There's our take. I knew I'd find it.
Get involved.
Get involved. I try to encourage my kids all the time. That's how I got into the conversation with the young lady who said, none of this matters to me. No, but it does. You want a better DeQuincy, you have to get involved. It's at the grassroots level. How do you make your society better? One person at a time.
Keep kicking the ball down the road. Don't complain when somebody picks it up and beats you over the head with it. You had the chance to hold it.
You had the chance to pick it up.
You had the chance to pick it up.
There it is. There's our lesson.
Okay.
All right.
I think that's a good one.
I think it is. You want to mention his district again? When's the vote, James?
October 14th.
October 14th.
October 14th, District 3C of Beauregard Parish, Mr. James Boswell. And thanks for coming over.
Oh, absolutely. Life after high school.
It's fun just
inviting me. We'll have to do it again sometime.
We will.
Oh, absolutely. I would enjoy that. I like just having the conversation. That was good. Been a while.
Been a long while.
It has.
But, I keep thinking I'm going to retire, and then now I'm like,
ooh, civics.
They're going to make civics a testable course.
But
here you go. You'll appreciate this. I had a supervisor who's, of course, half my age. And I mentioned that I'd love to teach civics. He goes, well, aren't you kind of concerned? I mean, it's going to be a tested course. It's like, and I'm not.
Think about that a minute.
I'm not concerned.
It's a new curriculum. But it's civics.
I said, I just said, I'm way too old and too long in this game to be concerned. Test scores just happen. And generally, I think I can prove pretty much in anything that you're going to have a bell curve when it's all said and done. And that's another rule.
Oh, are we back to
scores.
History? Yeah.
Well, that's just a rule. It's an economic rule, just like anything else. The shape of the curve, if you're an honest grader for any given assignment, you're still going to get a bell curve.
Yes. But it's not allowed to happen.
But what we've done now, though, is, of course, the top of the bell curve should be average. And I think society is kind of kicking it over.
We've skewed things. Things are skewed.
So equilibrium has shifted a bit. But
all right.
But it still works out that way.
All right.
Well, anyway.
Well, hopefully we won't have any evacuations or any of that stuff between now and our next episode.
No more biblical disaster.
No,
I don't want to have to do another hurricane episode. That was the silliest thing ever. We did a history.
We did Galveston. We did Galveston.
And
you might
2 weeks,
enjoy that episode.
We made a joke at the beginning of that. Me and Habs, I said, well, wouldn't it be something if after talking about this, we had a hurricane and by golly. And then finally get back together, get power.
Get it.
And I started talking. I said, man. And I said, have you seen that little squirrely storm that might be a hurricane? You're kidding. And no, I think we're going to. And we had it happened again.
We had Laura.
And so I had to have another hurricane episode.
None of that.
I'm not doing one this year.
We'll do a fire episode.
You need to have we just had a rain for a week episode. That's what you need.
That's what we need. We do need a rain for a week.
We had a slow rain for a week.
Not
Let's
a flood
talk about
rain.
that one.
But a nice steady.
Just cool down.
My yard needs it. All right, you going to let this man get to kickoff?
Well, kickoff's already happened.
I know. But you know the Saints. It doesn't
matter until the last 2 minutes anyway.
That's it.
The Saints are going to do it in 2.
Well, James, once again, thank you for coming over. And we will do this again.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Deb, don't you?
I do. I got something to say. I do. I want to let you people know out there that no matter what's going on in your life, all your joy and happiness is portable. I want you to take that with you. Take it out there into the crazy world.
Thank you, Deb.
Bye.
See y'all again in 2 weeks.